Psalm 122, the joy and peace of God's people in Jerusalem. Psalm 122 is a song of joy, unity, and devotion, celebrating the privilege of worshiping God in His holy city, Jerusalem. As one of the songs of ascents, it was sung by pilgrims traveling up to Jerusalem for the great festivals of Israel. Attributed to King David, it captures the emotions of anticipation, reverence, and peace that surrounded the act of coming into God's presence. The psalm begins with an outburst of gladness. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go into the house of the Lord." These words convey not only personal joy but also a communal spirit, as the call to worship is shared among God's people. For the Israelites, the house of the Lord referred to the temple in Jerusalem, the center of God's presence on earth. The pilgrims' excitement at standing within Jerusalem's gates reflects a sense of fulfillment, as if the long journey of faith has culminated in the joy of worship. David then turns his attention to the city itself, describing Jerusalem as built as a city that is compact together. This image emphasizes both physical and spiritual unity. The tightly knit structure of Jerusalem mirrored the unity of the 12 tribes of Israel who gathered there to worship. Each tribe, though distinct, came together as one people under one God. Their ascent to the city was not merely a tradition but an act of obedience to the divine command to appear before the Lord. Within Jerusalem, they offered thanks to the name of the Lord, acknowledging His goodness and faithfulness to the nation. The city thus stood as a symbol of God's covenant relationship with His people, a place where thanksgiving and unity merged in worship. The psalm continues by acknowledging Jerusalem as the seat of divine justice. For thrones are set there for judgment, the thrones of the house of David. In ancient Israel, the king's throne was not only a symbol of authority but also of righteousness. The house of David represented God's chosen order, where justice was to be administered according to divine principles. In this sense, Jerusalem was not just the religious heart of the nation but also its moral and political center. The presence of these thrones suggested that peace and order flowed from adherence to God's justice. For David, the integrity of Jerusalem, both as a city of worship and of righteous governance, was essential to the well-being of the entire nation. Flowing naturally from this recognition comes a call to prayer. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, may they prosper who love you. Peace be within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. The Hebrew word for peace, shalom, carries a rich meaning that goes beyond the absence of conflict. It encompasses wholeness, safety, harmony, and spiritual well-being. David's appeal invites all who love the city to intercede for its welfare, recognizing that the peace of Jerusalem ensures the flourishing of God's people as a whole. In praying for the city's peace, the worshippers also express their love for God, since Jerusalem was His dwelling place. This act of prayer is both patriotic and spiritual, binding together faith and community life. The psalm concludes with a personal vow of devotion. For the sake of my brethren and companions, I will now say, peace be within you. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good. David's concern for Jerusalem is not abstract but deeply relational. He seeks the city's good for the sake of his fellow Israelites, his brothers and companions in faith, and out of reverence for God, whose presence sanctifies the city. This closing statement brings the psalm full circle. Joy in worship leads to a commitment to peace, and love for God naturally expresses itself in love for His people. David's personal devotion becomes a model for all believers, showing that true worship extends beyond the temple walls into daily acts of prayer, service, and peacemaking. Psalm 122 therefore stands as a timeless celebration of communal worship, unity, and peace. It reminds us that joy in God's presence should inspire a desire for the well-being of His people. For the ancient Israelites, Jerusalem was the visible center of God's presence on earth. For believers today, it points to the spiritual community of God's people, the church, where God dwells by His Spirit. The psalm calls all who love God to rejoice in gathering for worship, to seek unity among His people, and to pray earnestly for peace and prosperity within His household. In doing so, it offers a vision of what true devotion looks like: gladness in worship, gratitude in community, and faithfulness in seeking the good of others for the glory of God.
Psalm 122, a song of ascents of David. I was glad when they said to me, Let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet have been standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built as a city that is compact together, where the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, to the testimony of Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. For thrones are set there for judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. Peace be within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brethren and companions I will now say, Peace be within you. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good.